Hi, this is Happy Moonlight, and it's my first walk with me where I'm talking about dealing with anxiety. In this first video, I'm talking about what anxiety is to some extent and what it does with you. Now, anxiety is a constant feeling of worry that is not necessarily linked to a specific reason, but people with anxiety will also worry abundantly about mundane details of daily life. And when I talk with patients about anxiety, one of the examples that I like to use is the flight from Frankfurt to Denver or Denver to Frankfurt, whichever way you're going. It's about a 9-hour flight. And I've had patients who literally, flew that distance and they said, "Oh, I was always worried if my bag arrives." And I said, "Oh, that is interesting." So they weren't able to enjoy the in-flight movie. They weren't able to relax and have a good time. They were worried. They were going through the scenario of what can I do if I come to the airport and my suitcase hasn't arrived? And talking to them, I realized that this negativity that they experience during the flight is not really helpful in trying to solve the problem. So I realized at that point that if your suitcase arrives at the destination, then you will have worried for no reason for 9 hours. So you will have lost out on the moment. And that is a very important thing to understand. We're not talking just about, a few hours of flight time. We're talking about the fact that you are losing a lot of your life to anxiety if things go wrong. Because it could be that you are worried about this and that all the time. So this is the first point that I find very important. So I talked to people and I realized when I talked to them, I said, "Okay, so what is it that you can do to help your bag arrive?" And they said, "Maybe I can label it specifically." And I said, "Well, the most important thing for you to do is to drop off your bag at the proper counter." And I can tell you why that is that way. The reason why that is so important is because if you don't do that, the odds of your bag actually arriving are very, very slim. All right, so they could understand that, they could relate. And then I said, if your luggage arrives, you have worried for 9 hours without a reason. But if your luggage does not arrive, you will also have worried in vain because only in Denver will you realize if there's a nice lady who's ready to help you, if there's anybody who's willing to give you a hand. These things, which I also call the elements of grace, you will not be able to perceive if you are on the flight and you don't see what is actually going to be available in the situation. So that's the first thing. The other thing that I found out is that people who have a skill set that they can actually trust in certain situations, like I can talk to people, I can ask questions, I can ask for help. These are interestingly enough things that if you really live them, they can be a good tool to reduce anxiety. So I've talked to people and I asked them, now, why do you worry so much? And you have to understand feelings are feelings. Okay? People don't just get up in the morning and they say, "I want to be insanely worried about some small thing and some small item for the rest of this day." No, they don't do that. And my patients don't do that either. However, there are some considerations, some mm, yeah, cognitive traps people fall into. And one of the biggest traps is that people think, okay, if I prepare myself mentally for the fact that my luggage might not arrive, I will be less disappointed when I'm in Denver and find out my luggage isn't there. But that doesn't work that way. Because if your luggage arrives, you have lost a time of your life, quality of life, to something that never did happen. And as I said, if your luggage does arrive, you have also worried in vain. So in the next couple of videos, I will be talking about the nature of catastrophization, the the tendency to imagine the biggest catastrophes. And it's something that, as I said, some people do it in part because they don't want to be negatively surprised, but it's also something that some people just can't stop. It's just going on in their heads. And I will be talking about what the difference is between proper preparation for an event or for a situation and catastrophization. Just a quick reminder, this is not a substitute for psychotherapy. I'm trying to offer a little bit of an overview over the topics. In this case, the first topic being anxiety, but there will be other topics coming as well. And I chose anxiety first because it's actually the thing that most people complain about and that I witness every day in therapy. So I wish you a happy day.